welcome to this, and this, as the title says, is my review for Ring of Honor's The French Connection DVD, which, of course, is the first Ring of Honor show that was booked by Adam Pearce. So this is the start of the Adam Pearce era. A lot of people were looking at, and you could tell even with the fans, because even though this was Ring of Honor's debut near Quebec, that this was, you know, there was a lot of, like, what are we going to see type of thing, because a lot of people were scared we were going to see this, you know, complete opposite thing that was going to be pure, you know, so much more sports entertainment than what people wanted. That's not what we got, though we did get some more sports entertainment, particularly with some behind-the-scenes interviews and that sort of thing. The guy, and I can't remember his name, that has been on the new Video Wires, was on this show, but he played a slightly different character, I would say, where he was kind of a dick to the faces, but then wasn't cool enough to hang out with the heels. So it was a kind of a weird dynamic. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it worked. Not everyone's going to agree with that. It's going to be one of those things, you like it or you don't, I think. There won't be much middle ground on it. But this still felt like very much a Ring of Honor show, where the wrestling took much more center stage. There wasn't a lot of strange, weird stuff going on. And other than that, not a lot else. Like I said, good wrestling. Kind of I wouldn't say a dead crowd, but more of a tentative crowd, because I don't think they quite knew what they were going to get. But by the end of the night, they did wake up a little bit and were into it. There was definitely more booking going on, I would say. More storylines were developed, and that is than I think we had seen, particularly in recent, I would say, probably the last 6 months in Ring of Honor. There was a lot more, you know, stories being developed, that sort of thing, particularly on the undercard. There was nothing that didn't make sense, which is always good. And other than that, let's get started with this. Like I said, there was some behind-the-scenes stuff that was pretty good, but I thought, but like I said, it's one of those things people have to see for themselves. But we did start out tonight with Erick Stevens versus Eddie Edwards, and Erick Stevens now, as I'm sure most of you probably already know, has a red streak in his hair, almost Red Rooster-like. Even they noted on it on the commentary, and the commentary team is more of a face-heel team now, which was kind of a nice little surprise and change. I'm still not big on the ROH team, but it was a nice little change, because I think most of us have gotten bored with the, you know, dueling faces and that sort of thing. But this was definitely more of a heel-face type of commentating team, though not overly heelish, but still I think enjoyable. But we still got Erick Stevens versus Eddie Edwards, which was supposed to be kind of a continue, you know, Erick Stevens with sweet and sour, and this was okay for what it was. It was a good, just okay match in my opinion. And like I said, Erick Stevens then had the red streak, and they talked about this, and they actually made the reference of not everybody can be a guy with short brown hair and black trunks. So basically saying, hey, we're doing this so to give guys a little bit more individuality, which is good. It's one of the things that, of course, a lot of people had been talking negatively about Ring of Honor for a while, is that everyone kind of looked the same, acted the same, sort of thing. That was definitely not the case. Like I said, this is what you would expect. It was more of just a showing off of Erick Stevens, a prolonged one, but it was good. It was just a good old style, just kind of, you know, heel face, you know, face getting to go over and look good type of thing. And I wouldn't quite call it a squash, but it was what it was. But it was a good, you know, 2.5 stars. Next we have the Briscoes versus Kenny King and Kenny Omega, the Kennys. And this was actually really good, I felt. Particularly the fact that they were telling the story. Kenny Omega came out, and then Kenny King was playing his character from the YYR, or the YRR. And he came out, did his thing, was being kind of the dickish heel that he is. Kenny Omega was being more of the face, and they were teaming up against the Briscoes. and things did not go well. And this was booked very well, where Kenny Omega kept kind of screwing up, and Kenny King, as far as, Kenny King would go out there, do his thing, look really good, tag in Kenny Omega would go good for a while, then mess up, tick off Kenny King. So it was really good, to the point where Kenny King finally just walked out on Kenny Omega, doing the whole heelish act. But overall, even though while that was going on, the match itself I felt was pretty good, and told a nice little story, which is always kind of a nice thing to see, and not something we normally see in Ring of Honor. It was a slower paced match than probably what a lot of people would expect, but it wasn't a slow paced to the point of it was, boring. It was just not, pop, 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 spot fest. I mean, there were spots because it was, the guys that were in here, and there was, good moves and that sort of thing, but it wasn't, it was just a good, solid, good match in my opinion, particularly with the storyline. Everything kind of made sense. Rhett Titus later came out to talk to Kenny King while the match was going on. The Briscoes beat Kenny Omega, kind of helped Kenny Omega up, kind of like, hey man, we're sorry we had to beat you, but we beat you because your partner is a dick. But it played out pretty well, and I liked it, and I think the crowd kind of played up into it more than, this was definitely a smart crowd, I would say, and even they kind of got into it. So this was the first match, I would say, that they kind of got into, and they saw that, okay, we're going to get more of this stuff, but it's not a bad thing. Next we had Necro Butcher versus Brody Lee from the Age of the Fall. This got to the point where it looked like it was going to be a pretty good brawl, and then it ended in a DQ. When this happened, a lot of people kind of got upset because they were like, oh, like we're going to get DQs and stuff now. But in the sense of things, it did make sense. We did get a pretty, long kind of brawl, so it wasn't like you didn't get entertained by it. And I do think it worked. I'm not a big fan of this sort of thing, but I do think it worked to an extent. And hopefully we get to see, because when they did the DQ, the match was really starting to pick up and looked like it could have been a really good brawl. But, what you gonna do? Next we had Jerry Lynn versus Delirious. As most people know, I am a Delirious mark, and I like Jerry Lynn a lot. And this was just a solid, good, my definition, just a good match. There was nothing bad about it. It was entertaining. Everything, in my opinion, worked. It was just a really good kind of match. Jerry Lynn doing, Jerry Lynn stuff, and Delirious doing Delirious stuff, and it all kind of meshed. I'm not quite sure how the Delirious heel turn is going, but I do like the fact that they're basically saying that, Delirious isn't necessarily a heel, he's just kind of misguided, which is kind of interesting. But again, pretty good little match here, and I liked it and enjoyed it. Next we had Roderick Strong versus Davey Richards. This was the first non-Japanese confrontation between these guys, as these guys did face on the one of the Japanese cards. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. I believe it was the first night. And this was just a good match. Wasn't probably the brawl or with the intensity that probably a lot of people thought it would have. But, it was more of just them trying to one-up each other as far as wrestling, which I think worked to an extent. It was kind of them trying to show who the better man was. And, again, it had kind of a screw job finish, but not what I would just call just a good heel finish, in my opinion. And, prolonged the feud a little bit. But it went on for a pretty good long stretch of time, or a pretty good stretch of time, and was still really good, hard-hitting, some really good wrestling. The fans got into it near the end, and this is really where the fans started really kind of getting into the show, because I think they saw that, okay, things aren't going to be as different as maybe we had feared. Next we got the Age of the Fall versus Bryan Danielson and Austin Aries. This was a great match, in my opinion. Told a pretty good story where Jimmy Jacobs was not going to want to get, kind of old school, Jimmy Jacobs not wanting to get in the ring with Austin Aries, which was kind of nice. So Tyler Black took a pretty good beating. This, of course, was there to also set up the best of 3 series with Austin Aries and Jimmy Jacobs, as was getting ready to start up. And this was, again, a really great match, what you would expect from these guys, and really enjoyed it, with even the commentators saying maybe you need to call Bryan Danielson and Austin Aries teamwork, which was kind of funny, and you could tell they were trying to be a little too smarty. That's the only thing that I would say about this show. They were trying to be a little too much smart commentators and kind of throw in smart comments that I just didn't care for. But I did like the heel face thing, and we got lots of, we did get some Nigel McGuinness commentary, which was good, particularly the commentary during the Necro Butcher match, because he was going to face Necro Butcher the next night, and that was really good, I felt. And of course, after the whole beatdown with during the Necro Butcher match, I forgot to mention that he came out, attacked Necro Butcher, which of course set up the next night, which was kind of nice to see some one night leading to another night. That's not something we always got. We would get some of it, I would think, before, but not a lot. Next we had Nigel McGuinness versus Kevin Steen, Go Shiozaki, and El Generico in a four-way. This was another great match. Kevin Steen, of course, being mad over. El Generico was I wouldn't say as mad over, but was pretty damn over as well. This was a great match between these guys. Really good stuff. And Kevin Steen, of course, being the hometown hero, got down to him and Nigel McGuinness. Didn't really, I don't think to me, of course, I knew how it was going to end anyways, but never believed Kevin Steen was going to win. I don't know if the crowd did, but the crowd was going crazy near the end of this, mainly because it was Kevin Steen, which was good, because one of the big complaints people have had for Ring of Honor for a while is, and it's not a big complaint, but it's a pretty constant complaint, that there was so much going on that was blowing, it was burning out the crowds. This definitely didn't burn out the crowd. The night built up very nicely, and it wasn't a long show either, as I think this was just at 3 hours, which, there's a lot of Ring of Honor shows that go 4, and this seemed to go around really good. This was a long match, about 30 minutes, and really, really good stuff. Really enjoyed it. Nigel was playing the great heel that Nigel can play, basically kind of getting Go to attack everybody and kind of, being very, very sneaky, picking his spots, so to speak. So that was kind of good, and just a really good, fun show, I would say. I definitely give this an 8.0. I really felt like this was fun, and really enjoyed it, to be honest. This was probably the most fun I've had watching a Ring of Honor show, and probably since Death Before Dishonor. I would say I really, really kind of, as far as a fun show, and that's always good when you can have something fun. And also, there's a couple of great matches on here, so this is a pretty easy recommendation to me. And also, it's the first Adam Pearce show. I would recommend everybody checking it out, because I did like it. I did like kind of the direction it was going into. I didn't feel it was overly gimmicky like some people thought. But this, like I said, this is the first show. I'll be reviewing the second show. It'll probably be up sometime tomorrow. Not sure. Probably in the afternoon, maybe. But we'll see. But still some really good stuff. I was impressed, and I enjoyed myself. And that's all that I ask. And some great wrestling. So, there we go. Have a good one. I'm out. Later.